Do you want to know how to avoid data entry scams? Then this video is for you. My name is Michael and many of my viewers love doing data entry tasks and I get a lot of questions about it. And because data entry jobs have become so popular, unfortunately there are also many scams, and I have seen many people lose both money and information and get into trouble because they fall for these scams. And therefore I decided to record this video where I'll show you some important signs you need to look for to be able to spot data entry scams and can just focus on the legit data entry tasks that actually do pay you. So before going over the signs you need to look for, and I will also show you a few examples so you can understand it with real live job postings that I have come across, then let's first talk about why you need to be so careful when it comes to data entry scams, because there are certain things they need to achieve. Because sometimes I get the question like how can they cheat me? What are they trying to achieve? And there are mainly three things that data entry scammers are trying to do, because as mentioned, data entry jobs have become so popular. It's a fairly easy way in general to make money. It's something you can do on your own terms. You can do it from any country. But because of that, there are so many scammers that try to take advantage of that. And they try usually to either they get personal information from you that they can resell or misuse in any kind of way, or they try to actually get money from you. That is also the case. Or they will use access to your computer or something like that. They will hack you and take over your computer, your phone, or whatever it can be. So these are the main three things and the reasons that you need to be careful so none of this will happen to you. And of course, some scammers are very sneaky and tricky, but there are some general signs you need to look out for when you are looking for data entry jobs. So let's go over these signs next. So the first sign you need to be very careful of, and I see it very often, is that you see some kind of data entry job post and then they ask for money up front. They ask you for money to get access to the data entry job. That is a clear red sign. Stay away from it. And it becomes even more sneaky when sometimes you'll find a data entry job where they will actually ask you to do some kind of random task that's not really a data entry task, that, you know, they just get you to do it, so you invest time. Sometimes it is a real job, and then when it's about time to pay you, then first you just need to transfer an administration fee or to verify like $100 or something like that, or it can also be more or less. And of course it's really annoying if you've already invested some time into it, and that's what they know. That's why they do that. Sometimes they get you to invest time into it, and then they ask for money, and then you're more likely to do that because you want the money that you have earned. But in general, if they ask for that, then you should turn them into the platform where you found it, because then it is in most cases a scam. Then it's better to just cut your loss, say, okay, I wasted time. That's really sad and annoying, but at least don't end up also losing money by giving your money to those scammers. And sometimes you can also spot this before you even get to that stage, but this is just something you need to be aware of to stop yourself from actually losing money. So let's talk about some of the other signs, so hopefully you will not get to that stage where you've done work and they will ask you for money then. So the next sign you need to look for is what kind of personal information they are asking for, and can you verify who they are, because sometimes you have no idea who they are. They're just anonymous. There's no information about them on the platform where you're trying to find it, and they ask for a lot of personal information that is not necessary for the data entry jobs. In general, some platforms will ask you for verification when you join a job platform. That's normal, you know, because there's a lot of scammers also like that, so they need to verify that. But if it's the person posting the jobs, then again, it depends. If it's a full-time job, something like that, there might be some verification. But be careful. Does it make sense what they're asking for? Do you know who is asking? All that, be critical about that, so you don't end up giving a lot of personal information to someone that you don't even know who is. And even a real employer, full-time employer, something like that, they will never, for example, ask for like bank details, or personal information like that up front. So, be careful about that. Be critical what kind of information you share. So the next sign is closely related to what I just talked about, and that is there any information about the company or the person you're working for? Sometimes there might not be because it's some kind of small task, but overall then you can also see, okay, is it realistic pay? Is it realistic what they asked me to do? We'll talk more about how to spot that next here. But overall, if it's some kind of bigger job where it looks like there should be a real company behind, you need to know what is the company. Can you research about it? Is there information? So it's closely related to what I just talked about, who you share information with, but this is also something where it can stop you from, if it's just like very little information, it looks like a real full-time job where you can earn like thousands of dollars, they claim, if you can't find any information about the company that is supposedly posting this job, that's definitely a huge red flag. But let me jump to a platform now also and talk about the next couple of signs, because then I want to show you some examples to make it easier for you to understand what to look for. So I just jumped to a job posting platform, and this has nothing to do with this particular platform. It's just because I know that sometimes there are data entry scams on this platform. There are on a lot of platforms. Unfortunately, some are better at filtering out. There are some that are actually really good where you will never find it. So I will talk a little bit more about where you can find these type of like platforms where you know that whatever data entry jobs you find, that they are definitely legit. But here I want to show you a couple of examples of where you have to be careful, because here I went to look for data entry, and some of them, they look realistic. Then of course here when we get to somewhere it says, like for example here, $500 to $1,000 for data entry jobs, you should be a little bit critical. So then if you look at it, you click it, and then you can read more. And in this case, when you then come and you read the application or the job post here, there's not like huge red flags. It's like it's kind of like normal language, because that sometimes you can also see if it's full of grammatical errors or poor language. So you can kind of read and say like, okay, it could sound like actually a legit platform or legit job, but this is where you need to be critical. Then you should just like contact them, but then go through everything there. How do they communicate? Can you find out who it is? Can you find out what they're asking about? Does it make sense? All this. So sometimes you will look at it and say like, okay, no red flags. Apparently red flags here. It could be legit. Then still be critical. Ask more questions. Apply, and then you can take it from there and see like, do they try to do something strange, like for example the way they communicate, the poor communication. That is a very important red flag you need to be aware of, because then suddenly if they, for example, poor communication, it's not just what they write here, it's also how they write back and forth when you start asking, and do they reply back very quickly that you got the job, and kind of like, okay, for this job here there should be like, for this kind of salary there should be some kind of process where they're filtering out a little bit more. Also, if they try immediately to get you off to, for example, Telegram, a lot of data entry scammers try that. They even sometimes write in the job post, but other than that, first when you reach out, because they know if they write in the job post, sometimes they'll get banned for the platform, but then they say, oh, contact me on Telegram, then they take it off the platform. Huge red flag. So this poor communication, strange communication, something you really need to be aware of. Even if you find a job that seemingly looks like it could be worth looking into, then be very critical. So this is just to kind of show you how to filter when you do that, or when you look for data entry jobs. For example, also here, simple data entry task. If we look at that, it looks $100 to $500. And then you go in here and you see, this is when it starts becoming strange, because there's not really any information, and the promise up to $500. For me, this sounds like unrealistic pay, which is the next huge red flag. In general, if they give a very high salary for something where it doesn't make sense, of course that's a huge red flag. And here you say like, visit the links I will provide you and fill in the forms. Other tasks may require you to fulfill. It's not very good English, it's not very good explanation, and you may be asked to provide email, zip code, or telephone number. Once provided, click submit. But like this seems strange. This sounds confusing. There might actually be a job, but then when you do it, something seems off in my opinion. So you could apply for this, and again, just be very critical. But this one here, for me, has too many red flags. But out of curiosity, I could maybe place a bit just to see where it goes. But it just seems like one of the ones you should stay away from. So that's just couple of examples there, so you know how I filter when I look through different job posts like this. And we can look at one more. For example, here it says up to $1,000. So if we look at that here, images with text overlay, attention to detail. I have this images with the text overlay. I need a worker to manually type the text. This could be a real data entry job because it does make sense. It does sound like a very high salary though, because this would mean that you would get like almost $1 or maybe 50 cents per image, and it's like 7 words per image. It sounds a little bit unrealistic, but you can also see there are some employer reviews. Sometimes you can read about that, but still, there is a person you could look into. She has a pro account, so this could be real. I would say this one I wouldn't rule out. I would ask more questions. I would say like, okay, send an application, say I could do this, and then again be critical. But this is one of the things you can look into, that you can read the profile, all this, and ask more questions. And maybe this is one of the good ones. You just need to again be critical. And I wanted to show this, like how I do it myself, because then sometimes it's easier to show how you should think when you are looking for jobs and looking for all these different signs I have mentioned here. Go through them, look at the profile, the person, all these things. Are they anonymous? Is it a real person? Is it a fake image they have used? Is it a real person? All these things there, and then you can be able to find some good paying data entry jobs and avoid actually losing information or losing money or wasting your time. But let's also talk a little bit about where you can for sure find legit data entry platforms to find jobs where you will not get scammed. So as you can see, you do need to be careful when it comes to data entry jobs, but the reality is also there are a lot of really great data entry jobs where you can earn quite good money completely on your own terms. And I do have a list on my website of my top recommended data entry platforms, and the top platform there, for example, also is a job posting platforms, but they are really good at filtering. You will never see anything where you have doubts, where you really need to check it, because they do all that checking. But there are a lot of legit platforms, so you can join many different data entry platforms to find different types of data entry tasks and potentially earn really good money that way. So I'll leave a link below to a list I have of the best data entry platforms on my website. You can check that out if you want to see the ones that I personally recommend. But no matter what, I hope this video helped you figure out how to stay safe if you want to work with data entry jobs. And if the video did help you, make sure to hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out next time I release a video with tips and tricks about different ways to make money online.